Hello and welcome to your daily mobile gaming sizzle with me, Jon Jordan. So we're coming to the end of 2016, so we're looking back at some of the big mobile games companies, how they performed, and potentially how they might perform in 2017. So looking at today, Glu Mobile, we can see its latest game, Nicki Minaj, The Empire, firing off in the background there. And Glu has really come to prominence in the last couple of years for its celebrity games. So most famously, it released a game called Kim Kardashian Hollywood that came from nowhere and has been its biggest game in the last, or it's probably actually Glu's biggest game ever. So it's done about $250–300 million of lifetime revenue. Still actually doing not too badly. Still doing did $7 million of revenue in the last quarter. So on the basis of that success, Glu has gone celebrity crazy, or the last couple of years has gone celebrity crazy, and it's signed up a lot of celebrities in the hope that they would provide a Kim Kardashian Hollywood type hit. So it did a deal with some other Kardashians, so Kendall and Kylie. That game came out in 2016. That game kind of did okay, actually. Wasn't anything like a Kim Kardashian Hollywood type hit, but it turned over $20 million in $25 million maybe annually. It's dropped off quite considerably now, but it wasn't too bad. It was a game that was probably profitable for the company. The big problem for Glu in 2016 was it released a game based on Katy Perry. So Katy Perry Pop was released at the end of 2015. That's been a total failure, and Glu's killed that game now. Similarly, it released a game called Britney Spears' American Dream. That game again has been a total flop. It's only done $1 or $2 million of revenue in the quarter that we've seen figures for. And as I say, it's just announced Nicki Minaj, The Empire. Haven't had any financial figures for that yet. The quarter's not ended, so we don't know. But looking at the how it's doing on the charts, probably not doing that well. Certainly not at the moment. We're not seeing a Kim Kardashian type explosion. So it has one role left really in the celebrity kind of simulation game kind of genre, and it's got a deal with Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift is, let's face it, a proper star. Just not say that Britney Spears and Katy Perry aren't, but if you were going to choose one, you'd probably choose Taylor Swift over them. That game is coming out in 2017, so that's really the big hook to hang any expectation of Glu turning its business around. Is really, does that Taylor Swift game do anything? And when we say do anything, we mean a $250 million franchise, really. It's possible to say we've not seen anything about the game, but given that the last 3 games in the celebrity genre that it's tried haven't worked out. They've all been good games. They've not been terrible games or anything, and they just haven't caught the imagination in the way that Kim Kardashian Hollywood did. So that's really, if you think Glu's going to do well next year, that you have to think that's because the Taylor Swift game will do well. The reason we say that is because for the last, every quarter we've seen in 2016, Glu's revenues were down year on year, and actually for half of the year of 2015 its revenues were down year on year as well. So it's basically we've had 5 quarters of declining revenue. It's also been heavily loss-making in 2016, and one of the big reasons for that is when you deal with celebrities, you have to pay them royalties. There's kind of been a bit of controversy about how much Kim Kardashian is actually paid in terms of royalties, but if you look at Glu's balance sheet, at certain points at the start of the year with about $100 million worth of royalty based kind of balance sheet numbers on there. So some of them were prepaid things, some of them were liabilities accrued. And it ended the year, or the third quarter, it had to write off $30 million of impaired royalties. So basically that was, we presume, Glu hasn't said, but that was presumed to be guarantees to people like Katy Perry, who the game didn't do the numbers, so there was something in the contract that said this is the minimum we have to be paid. So Glu's taken a big hit, and that's why its last quarter was awful, of massive loss, and it had this $30 million impairment. So hopefully that's off the books now. But it's still the case that it's hard to see any other games in Glu's portfolio doing very well, which is not to say that Glu doesn't have a decent portfolio. It has some shooter games that kind of bumble along. It has a racing game, Racing Rivals, not massively successful, but does probably a $40 million annually kind of game at certain points. What else does it have? It has some sports game. Actually, the sports games have been one small slither of success for Glu. So it has a franchise called Tap Sports Baseball, and 2016 version of that is actually doing pretty well. It's done, when we say pretty well, it's like done $11 million in a quarter. So we can see again that's looking like it at best could be a $40 million franchise a year. Again, as I say, I think for Glu it needs something bigger than that. And the other franchise that's doing well for GLUU is Cooking Dash. So that's a bit of a surprise. So Cooking Dash was a franchise that GLUU bought off, or bought another company called PlayFirst a couple of years ago for actually not very much money. And Cooking Dash has been doing rather well. So there's a game, Cooking Dash 2016, that's again doing in the order of $10 million a quarter. I think it's $8 million in the last quarter. And also they've released a version with the chef Gordon Ramsay, so Gordon Ramsay Dash. So it's had 2 games come out in the Dash series in 2016. Both of them have been doing about $8 million a quarter for the last 2 quarters. So again, they're doing pretty well. But even adding up all those games, that's 3 games that are doing well, and you're getting to maybe $30–40 million a quarter. GLUU is a $200 million, $250 million annual sales company, really. At the moment, probably 2016 will come in about $200 million, and it probably needs to be about, well, it does need to be about $250 million to be profitable. That's kind of that's the gap it's having at the moment. So basically, it needs some franchises to come in and fill that $50 million gap. So obviously, GLUU will be releasing more games. It released 6 games in 2016. We don't know its portfolio for 2017 apart from the Taylor Swift game we've already mentioned. It has done one other thing. It has spent quite a lot of money. It spent $45 million buying a company called Crowdstar. Crowdstar has a game called Covert Fashion. It's kind of, say, a game. It's more like a kind of a fashion simulator. That game, or we should say, that's really the only game it does have. Actually, it has another game in soft launch called Design House Game, which supposedly is doing well in soft launch, but it's not really a game. So, kind of GLUU has staked quite a lot of money. So it raised about $200 million in investment in the mid-2015 from Tencent, the big Chinese internet games company, which took a stake in GLUU. GLUU will end 2016 with having basically spent half that money, so it'll end the year with about $80 million in cash. $45 million went buying Crowdstar, which was pretty expensive given that Crowdstar isn't profitable. So the weird thing, the ironic thing, I guess, for 2017 is GLUU might end up with $250 million of revenue if the Crowdstar kind of games do as we kind of be expected, but it still might not be profitable because the Crowdstar games at the moment are not profitable. And Covert Fashion has been in launch. It's been launched for a couple of years. So it's not like a new game you can kind of really tweak out. So we'll wait and see what happens. But we are getting to the kind of, I think, the end game with GLUU. Certainly, if you look at its share price is in the doldrums. You can still argue actually the company's market cap is about $250 million. That's quite high, really, given the cash it's got and the assets it's got, and the fact that still Kim Kardashian is dropping off fast, but that's still its kind of historically its biggest game. It's not been able to replicate that. So I would say 2017, hard times ahead for GLUU. There's always some chance something might turn around. There's always a game that can light up the App Store, and certainly with Kim Kardashian, that came out of nowhere. No one expected it. The fact, though, that GLUU hasn't been able to replicate Kim Kardashian Hollywood success with games that do involve celebrities, big celebrities, well-known celebrities, they've just not caught the gamer's imagination in the same way that Kim Kardashian does. Makes me kind of think that it's unlikely that even Taylor Swift, with all her many talents, will be able to rescue GLUU. And partly for that reason, the CEO, Niccolo de Mansi, who basically kind of has been running GLUU for a number of years and is a pretty smart guy, but he nailed his colours to the mast of the celebrity kind of IP scenario, and that's led to the problems that we've seen in 2016, particularly with the royalty payments when the games don't work out as they expect. So there's a new CEO, so potentially, you know, he might be a fresh broom, but probably we think 2017 will be a difficult year for Glu Mobile, and that will probably be reflected in its share price and in its quarterly figures. The only other thing could be Tencent, which we said has already invested heavily in the company, may come in and decide it actually wants to take GLUU over. Potentially it may do. Tencent hasn't really showed that in its investment so far in the US. It's let its companies get on with stuff. But GLUU is a good operation. It just hasn't, in this kind of winner-takes-all market, hasn't managed to have that game that really works out. So there we are. That's 2016, 2017 for Glu Mobile. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to come back as we go through some of the other mobile games companies and look at their prospects for the year ahead.